The purpose of my bill, the Criminal Justice Public Order Amendment Bill 2019, is to achieve one simple goal, namely ensuring that sufficient measures are in place to protect our nurses, our Gardaí, our firefighters and our ambulance personnel who on a daily basis put their lives at risk in doing their work. We are privileged to live in a civilised country, confident in the knowledge that our services we call on for help, whenever it be nurses, Gardaí, fire personnel or whatever, come to our aid. You would expect that when that help arrives, it always be welcomed and appreciated. However, unfortunately, that is not always the case, and our emergency workers can find themselves in dangerous and threatening circumstances. The least we can do as legislators is to ensure sufficient protections are in place to protect those who may be assaulted in the course of their duties. We can do this through enhancing existing laws that are already in place. To that end, the Criminal Justice Public Order Bill 2019 aims to provide for stronger prison sentence in respect of an assault on a member of the emergency service. Also, to provide for the introduction of a new offence, that is, the ramming of an emergency vehicle. Minister, the facts speak for themselves. Sylvia Chambers, speaking on behalf of the INMO recently at an Oireachtas committee, said that at least 10 nurses are being assaulted in Irish hospitals on a daily basis. Last year, 285 Gardaí were assaulted. The National Ambulance Service, 45 of their personnel were assaulted as they go about their daily work. I could quote more statistics, but I know you are very much aware of them yourself. The consequences of these actions for staff can be devastating. The consequences for society are seen in the recruitment issues that we are grappling with, both in relation to help and injustice. Our job as legislators is to set out what we feel should be the minimum and maximum sentence for offences, while at all times allowing the court the flexibility to adjudicate and deliver whatever sentence that court seems fit, based on the evidence presented to it. And that is only right. The law of the land needs to speak very clearly on this issue to anyone who strays over that line without good reason, if there ever is a good reason, and they should expect the full wrath of the law to come down upon them. Minister, as I said, I introduced this bill back in 2019, and I've been trying to progress it ever since. We've got to a point now where we're at committee stage. And I would like to commend yourself, since you came into the office, replacing Minister Helen McEntee on a temporary capacity. I'd like to thank you for your personal engagement on this, and indeed your officials. I met with you on a number of occasions, and I'm confident and heartened by your bona fides in relation to this, and I'll be trying to either, as I said to you when we spoke earlier, taking a chainsaw to this bill if you so wish, but we are both committed to the same destination, to end up in a position that we have sufficient sentences in place that people will think twice before they assault a member of the emergency services as they go about their daily duty. We need to protect those that protect us, and I look forward to your response here this afternoon.
Thank you, Senator. Minister Harris, you 4
Thanks,
minutes.
I want to thank Senator Gallagher for raising the matter today, but more importantly, I want to thank him for his ongoing work and leadership and advocacy in relation to this. I want to thank him for meeting with me and my officials and the team in the Department of Justice on a number of bases, and for constantly keeping this issue on the agenda. And I share his view. I know as Minister for Justice, I know as a former Minister for Health, how every day there are thousands upon thousands of people who get up in the morning and put on a uniform and put themselves on the front line, and often put themselves in harm's way. And I know that they close the door of their homes in the morning and go off to work and leave behind them families worried about their own safety in the workplace. And I do know that whilst we live in a country where there is, I think, very significant appreciation for the work of the Gardaí, for the work of people in our health service, for the work of our emergency services in general, we also sadly live in a country where we have seen an uptick in violent attacks. And I'm pleased that we still live in a country where we're repulsed when that happens, when people call that out, but it's not enough just to condemn it. We actually have to make sure as legislators that we change the law and make sure we have legislation that is really robust. And I know that's what you very much want to do, and we have a shared aim in relation to that. So from the outset, I want to make it absolutely clear that I'm extremely grateful, as I know you are, to all frontline workers for their outstanding dedication, for their steadfast commitment to serving the public, and for the critical role that they play in our society. The recent surge in violent incidents did shock and appall people right across this country. Any police force, any Gardaí, but an unarmed force in particular, depends on broad social acceptance of its authority and respect for the safety of its officers. While serious physical attacks on our Gardaí are relatively rare, a strong deterrent must be put in place to strengthen the social norm that violence at any level towards any officer is absolutely unacceptable. Frontline workers must be protected in carrying out their work, and the law, I'm pleased to say, does already reflect this. There are a range of robust legislative provisions available to the Garda authorities in circumstances where threats or assaults are made against frontline workers. There is, for the record of the Seanad, already a specific offence of assault on peace officers, which includes Gardaí in Section 19 of the Criminal Justice Public Order Act of 1994. A person convicted of such an offence is currently liable to a fine or to an imprisonment for a term not exceeding 7 years or both, and that latter penalty was increased from a maximum term of 5 years in 2006. However, I'm committed to working with Senator Gallagher to do more and to go further. I think we do need to take further action to protect Gardaí and all frontline emergency workers and their vehicles. And to that end, I do intend to bring forward an amendment to the Public Order Act to increase the maximum penalty available for assaulting a peace officer to 12 years. And I'm assured in the drafting of that will encapsulate the ramming of emergency vehicles as well. I'll continue to work with Senator Gallagher in relation to this matter. I intend to provide what I know is the thrust of his bill, the intent that he wishes to provide in his bill. I intend to provide for it in the Criminal Justice Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2022. I hope to bring an amendment to Cabinet this month, and I hope that this piece of legislation can be enacted before these houses go into summer recess. This bill will also see an increase in the maximum penalty available for the assault causing harm under Section 3 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act from 5 years to 10 years. In other words, we'll increase the maximum sentence for assault causing harm from 5 to 10 years for the population at large, but we'll also increase the 7 years to 12 years, specifically in relation to those peace officers, those frontline workers, including Gardaí, nurses and others. As Senator Gallagher will be aware, the Justice Plan commits to supporting the enactment of the Garda Síochána Recording Devices Bill. This bill completed Dáil's second stage on the 9th of February 2023. I hope to see it enacted this year, and I think this is also important because it will provide Gardaí with body cams, which I think is another additional protection to them as they go about their business. So I want to really thank Senator Gallagher for his leadership and his work on this, confirm to him that I do intend to amend the legislation, that I will take on board his bill in doing so, and will work with him closely as we try to get this legislation enacted, the government legislation which will incorporate his thinking by the summer recess.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Gallagher, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, Minister, I'd like to thank you again for your engagement, as I said earlier, and I'm very heartened and delighted with the news that you're after relaying to us this afternoon, and I look forward to this legislation being put in place, as you say, hopefully before the summer recess. That's excellent news, and I think it's only but right, as I said earlier, that we protect those who protect us. And Minister, on a separate issue, and very, very briefly, tomorrow marks the 49th anniversary of the Dublin Monaghan bombings, and those families have still questions and they still seek justice. And the developments across the water in the UK in relation to the legacy bill being pursued by the British government is one that no one is happy with and no one endorses. And I'm wondering, from an Irish government's perspective, what avenues of persuasion have we in trying to persuade the British government, apart from what we can do ourselves, to cease on this road that they're on. And I'm wondering what other avenues are open to the government, i.e. is it possible that we could enhance the help and assistance of the US authorities or perhaps our partners in Europe? I welcome your comments on that.
Senator Gallagher, and again commend him for his work and for using the Seanad to really try and bring forward a good change. I mean, using it in a proper way, but using the office that he holds to try and bring forward positive legislative change that I believe will help keep our frontline workers, including members of Garda Síochána, more safe as they go about their duty. I also think it's something that I know that they and their representative bodies have sought. We can never accept living in a country where the ramming of a Garda vehicle, the ramming of an ambulance or any other emergency vehicle, or an attack and any frontline worker going about their duty is acceptable, and we need to change the law to that. In relation to the Dublin Monaghan bombings, my thoughts as we approach the anniversary are, of course, with all the families. I know the thoughts of everybody in this House are as well. The government has been emphatically clear in relation to its position on the British proposals regarding legacy. We don't believe it's appropriate. We don't believe they should act unilaterally in relation to this. And I know my colleague, the Taoiseach Minister for Foreign Affairs, continues to convey the view of the Irish government at the highest levels.
Thank you, Minister. As that concludes our commencements, the House stands